Okay, so in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the different accelerations you can get in this game, and then how those different accelerations can impact this setup for TAS 8.2, and how you just like what you need to do to make sure that you always accelerate consistently and are able to get the setup consistently. So really quick, just going over what you see on screen, you have FCEUX, the emulator on the left side. On the right side we have TAS editor, which is like just displaying all the inputs, and then on the top right we have like RAM watch, so showing Mario's pixel position, subpixel, and then speed and subspeed. So first off, if you're just like not wanting to get into a lot of the technical details here, but you're just wanting to know what you have to do to get this setup to work, just like a quick answer for those people coming here for that is, after you've done everything else in the setup, gotten the bullet shot and full jump up here, once like you have Mario slide to a stop, it's like you jump up and you press B or you come to a stop, just what you have to do is at some point you have to make some correction to Mario, meaning you have to like do some little right press or some little left press or something like that. Like after he comes to a stop, you just gotta do some little left press, some movement up here. And then that does some things in the game, and that'll just make sure that you're set up so that Mario accelerates the right properly and such. The couple other things to keep note of is to hold B the entire time. That's important. And then also to make sure you're facing left before you start running to the right. And then that'll get you set up so that you can do the BBG and save the frame roll. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, I'm going to now talk a little bit more details about like why some of this works for the people who just want to understand it better. So a little bit more background info I want to talk about just a bit is up here on the top right in RAM watch. You can see we have Mario's pixel position, which is right here, and then subpixel position. Pixel position is in hex, in hexadecimal. If you don't know what that is, you can go look that up. I'm not going to explain that here. And then these two, the speed and subspeed, are not in hexadecimal. And then on subpixel, this last digit of 0 is never going to change. It's only going to be this, like the tens place digits that are going to change. And then on subspeed, subspeed is like, if you're watching this video, you probably already know something about subspeed, or at least have heard of it, but subspeed is literally just the decimal point to the speed value. That's literally all it is. It has some weird characteristics and sometimes doesn't act exactly how you think like a decimal point to speed value would. But that's really all it is. So now that I have that out of the way, I can talk about how some of the accelerations work in this game. So in this game, obviously there's like the backwards acceleration you can get, which is faster because that's like for fast accel, and there's like forwards acceleration for Mario's moving to the right and facing right stuff. But kind of like hidden under in the game's code, there's a lot of other acceleration values you can get depending on the exact scenario. Like Mario can be doing a backwards acceleration, but sometimes like accelerates a little faster in some scenarios, and in other scenarios accelerates a little slower. And then even when he's facing right, he has multiple other accelerations. So to demonstrate that, you can see, so there's also in the Pelson ROM in the top left, we have the sock folder value, which like also shows Mario's position, just another way of like viewing it. And if you remember the description of the original video for the 8.2 TAS, the new TAS 8.2 setup, in the description of that, I talked about how on the Pelson ROM, you can look at these last 3 digits, and there's certain ranges you can be within. And if you're within those ranges, then as long as you get the frame perfect right press, you're set up to do BBG. So if you see right here, we have Mario. He does a backwards jump. He does the full jump. Let me make sure that's a full jump. Yep, he does a full jump, and then he presses left and comes to a stop. And notice how when Mario, we're pressing left, and then we let go of left. As you can see on TAS editor, we let go of left before Mario actually comes to a stop. And then once he comes to a stop, He's set up, he's on 5 CO, which is within that range. One of those ranges I was talking about, because one of the ranges is 4 FO to 630, and 5 CO is within that range. But you'll see if we get this frame perfect right press, BBG doesn't work. If we try pressing right later, still doesn't work. Later, still doesn't work. Any earlier, you die, you're too close. So you're seeing that we should be set up, but BBG is not working for some reason. But if we do a little right press right here, and then a left press to go back to facing left and back on 5 CO again, the same positioning, you'll see that BBG now works, and this is going to save the frame rate. So for whatever reason, I'm not exactly sure why, but for whatever reason, if we get rid of these right and left presses again, and we come to when Mario slides to a stop, we're holding down B, and whenever you slide to a stop, you're holding down B. His subspeed's instantly going to reset to 0, and that's like always. So it's not subspeed that's affecting this. It's actually, if we look at the first few frames when Mario starts to walk to the right, keep an eye on the speed and subspeed. On the first frame, it goes 0 to 08, and then 1 160, and then 2 132. So 208, 1 160, and 2 132. However, if we do a little right press here, and then a left press to get back in the same positioning, still facing left, you'll now see we're going to accelerate much slower. Instead of 0 to 08 on the first frame, we have 0 152, 1 and then 48, 2 and then 20 for the speed and subspeed, and etc. That goes on. And then if you look at the positioning Mario gets as well, it's obviously going to be much further to the left with this. So the setups these ranges that I was talking about, the description of the previous video, they do not work with the acceleration you get from just sliding to a stop, because that would mean that you would have to like jump and slide to a stop, and as soon as you slide to stop, you have to be like set up, and you wouldn't be able to like correct your positioning. So I figured what would be much easier is if you use the acceleration you get from when you correct your positioning. So yeah, the setups use this little like correct the acceleration you get from when you correct your positioning. So you got to make sure to correct your positioning at one point, get the good acceleration. If you get the quote-unquote like bad acceleration, the one that you don't want, where like the acceleration you get after just coming to a stop and not correcting your positioning at all, if you get that acceleration, it's still very possible to get the BBG and save the frame roll. It's just the positioning ranges won't be exactly the same. But it doesn't make it impossible or anything. So it's not like the run's totally dead if you forgot to correct your positioning or you're not sure if you did it right. You can still just go and hope for the best. But yeah, so that's how all this works. Bit complicated, but I hope that helps with the understanding. Just make sure once you jump up here, you're holding B the whole time. You do some sort of way of correcting your positioning by pressing right and left. Make sure you finish by facing left. Facing left's important, and then get the frame perfect right press, and you save the frame roll.